Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gathering Paracast on the Cryptovadia Network. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Heidi.
And I'm Trost.
Yay!
Hello, everybody.
We're all here tonight on screen, so it's always a good night when that happens. And it's the Paranormal Smorgasbord for May. So, yeah.
May the Smorgasbord be with you.
Yes,
that's right.
Exactly. And I've heard about the new Grogu movie. Honestly, I think I might have to go on opening day. I love Baby Yoda, if you haven't noticed already. But yes, so I'm excited.
That's this coming weekend.
I thought it was the 22nd. Is it this weekend?
Well, okay. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I was asking.
I think it's the weekend of the 22nd. Because I thought that was a weekend where I didn't have anything going on, but I could be wrong.
No, you're probably not wrong. I was just asking.
Yeah. No, this weekend will be a bunch of us from the Sim crew will be in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin at a big paranormal conference. So it's going to be really fun. So I'd like to invite anyone out there who lives in that neck of the woods or who is going to that conference, come see us. It's CapCon, and it's all day Saturday. And it's all girls going to be there this time. So it'll be super fun. You'll get to meet cryptid chicks and Sim crew, and we're all going to be there. It's going to be a riot. So anyway, first paranormal conference of the year.
What's it called?
It's called CapCon. And it's like I said, it's in Fond du Lac. I've never been. So it'll be interesting to see what that neck of the woods is like. So yeah, it'll be super fun.
Fond du Lac is a neat area. I like it.
Yeah. I've been up to, I guess I shouldn't say I have no, I don't think I've ever been to Fond du Lac, but I've been up to Appleton. So kind of in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
cool.
It'll be fun.
We'll have fun.
Yeah. It'll be super fun. So lots going on. Can I just say I'm just busy all the time and, trying to deal with things. But here we are. So this is fun. So Paranormal Smorgasbord, here we go. Who would like to start?
How about I'll jump in?
Yeah.
And this is an oddity here that I got actually from the Wall Street Journal, and it's OpenAI, which operates ChatGPT. They apparently had a problem with one of their ChatGPT personalities interjecting goblins into lots of conversations, and to where it got to their point where they started to try and write some code around it, and it kind of subverted it and kept interjecting about goblins into all kinds of different conversations. Some of them really wasn't at all appropriate, but it certainly had a propensity. And check this out. It's kind of weird, and it kind of it gives you a glimpse into the weird world of AI and the blurring between AI lives or personalities. I mean, they completely snuffed out this personality. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. And it says that it kept to snuff out talk. It said it killed the nerdy personality in March. I'm going to play that again if you don't mind, because it's. There we go. And so that caught my eye. That's
a bizarre picture.
Yeah, and it says the goblins speak. What? And never talk about goblins, gremlins, raccoons, trolls, ogres, pigeons, or other animals unless it's absolutely and unambiguously relevant. That's a weird instruction.
No kidding. Unless it's absolutely relevant.
Yeah. And then they ended up having to actually, end that personality's life. Because on ChatGPT, when you do things, they'll give you sometimes options. Do you want to keep this response or this response? And you end up shaping or choosing a personality that ChatGPT has. And apparently this one developed some things. And it seems like, well, why was it really a problem too? So I'm going to
Right.
keep my eyes out for goblins, because it's, it's kind of something, like from, fairy tales and stuff, but it's kind of weird that they had to intercede to stop the goblin talk.
Yes. Stop the goblin. For God's sake, stop the goblin talk.
Yes,
I love
yes. So
that. What a bizarre thing.
it's kind of weird. Yeah. So that's something that I wanted to bring
That's
to
so
the
weird.
smorgasbord. Uh-huh. Yeah. No
But
It's
more
weird
talk of
to
goblin talk. Yeah, that's
oh,
a serious price to pay.
You
I'd
know,
say.
AI has gotten so invasive, right? At work, we're having to do all these trainings about be careful for this and be careful for that. And they want us to use it, but at the same time, there's a lot of guardrails, and we have to take all this training. And it's like, holy mama, it's amazing what all it can do. So, yeah, so you have to be careful, but it's
Um,
cool.
I I've filmed a couple of events that are AI and innovation oriented, and it's in most of the events. One was like a couple days long, and one
Mhm,
speaker after another was talking about woeing back AI, what to use, what not to use. But then it
mhm.
seems like they didn't want to drop any real details either, because it seems like there's a lot of people that are positioning themselves as experts, but nobody really is so new that,
Mhm.
you know, how do you, how do you deal with all
Exactly.
these things? Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because like, even like with editing software, these jobs that I do that sometimes take me like 4 or 5 hours to edit, a multi-camera angle podcast. Um, you can train an AI agent to chop it up in like a minute. And then you can take and adjust the errors so that you end up educating it to what you want. And eventually it can just
Yeah.
do, it reduces your workload,
Oh,
exponentially.
so much. So
And
much.
you know, yeah. And so it
Mm,
just learns. So it's really, really kind of interesting. And it's really interesting too, seeing people that are in the field have a heck of a lot of like they have a lot of questions themselves. And so it kind of resembles paranormal in that sense, because there's like not a lot of, who's an expert on this. It's only been around for a few years.
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's well, and it listens, right? But you know what I find
Mhm.
so cool is it's so helpful. And I think, for example, I'm the secretary of the board for our condo association out on the island. And so, I don't even write the minutes up anymore. We record them. AI spits out a summary, and then I say, okay, make these into a board document are the minutes for the board. And zips it right out. I have to change a few things, but hardly anything. And it goes out. I mean,
Do
it's
you like
so
the job it
simple.
does?
Do I what? Yes,
Do you
yes,
like
it's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I sent it to our president and our treasurer first, and I said, "What do you think about this? Is this good enough?" And they said, "Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't spend any time on it now." And I'm like,
That's
"Awesome."
awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
I used to be the secretary of the local festival committee, and I had to do the meeting minutes. And of course, I would always wait until the night before the meeting, and I'm trying to rack my
Yes.
brain and come up
See?
with them.
See? Yes, because we're
Yeah.
busy. We don't have time for this. And I told them that when they wanted me to do this. And I'm like, when am I gonna have time? But
Uh-huh. And every month I'd be like, I'm gonna do them right after the meeting this time, and then I'm like, no,
never,
I'll wait.
never happens.
Oh,
Plus,
Yeah.
it's the Langer way to wait till the end to do it, and then you go crazy.
I always say just in time Trost.
Exactly. Exactly. I totally agree with that. Oh my gosh. So I was out in the woods this weekend with two of our newest members of the sim crew that of course can't wait to get out in the woods. So we went out to our research area number one. Um, and it was fun. We didn't find a lot of new stuff, but it was fun to just kind of show them the ropes, right? Because they've never done this. Um, and one of the things that I found so amazing is the big hug structure is still there. I mean, it's not quite as full as it used to be, and it doesn't, but it's been a decade since we found that big hug to begin with, and
Has it been that long?
yes, I think it's been about 10 years, Heidi, right? I mean, that was the first time we had found the stick structure quadrant, and that was just really
Yeah,
close to
yeah, I
yeah.
think you're right.
And it was
Wow.
a beautiful day, and they're really good about, well, we're paranormal investigators, right? So we try to disprove everything we find, Um, so it was a good walk. It was a good walk. Ticks galore, but it is that time of year. I even had to go to the doctor and I had a tick in my neck, and we couldn't get it out, and they had to dig in that. They put me on antibiotics in case it was Lyme
Mhm.
disease,
Yeah.
because that's a scary thing, right? So
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
so they're all over. So, but it's part of the job, right? You got to take one for the team.
No, you don't.
Mhm.
No.
It is rapidly becoming a very, one of the most newsworthy items for,
Yes,
those of us that do go out in the woods.
yes,
And yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Well, I'm
I use some like pretty potent
eat.
deterrents like that DEET and stuff.
Yeah,
But I still get a couple on me
you
a
do.
year,
It's
and
it's
probably
inevitable.
get bit once or twice. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've pulled so many ticks off him already this year. And so I
Mhm.
finally decided, okay, you just got to do the monthly chew, I guess, and I did give it to him. I was trying not to do that, but I mean, what are you going to do? He's already been tested and he's already got Lyme disease. So there's a million other diseases he could get, so anyway, so
Mhm.
hopefully that'll help with the ticks around here because, he's got such long hair that they're just everywhere, so, but they won't
I
go near him now.
I get one occasionally because of weeding my daylilies. In the spring you try
Yep.
to clear out everything in there,
Yep.
and yeah, I get them a bit.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it was a beautiful day. So it's fun to get out. Fun to get out. And we're going up. So we're going up to Alan Yerkes. We're going up to Canada the first weekend of August. We switched it so these two girls could come,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So we're going to be there right in the heart of the winged creatures. But it's cooler up there. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping it won't be so buggy. But Alan's going to be
Yeah.
Alan's going to be here in town in a couple weeks, and we're going to meet and we're going to discuss kind of the plan. We're going to kind of plan it. You know what I mean? So if he's got some pretty wild ideas, I'm all for it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. We're going up.
Uh-huh.
Might as well do it. So it'll be a fun time. There'll be 5 of us, I think, that are going. So
Oh, good.
he's got his handful with
Cool.
us. Let me tell you.
He brings a positivity to the table that I really enjoy.
hmm Oh, for sure. And then hopefully,
Mhm.
so that's the second, I don't know, it must be the second weekend of August. So then maybe he can be on our cryptid talk that month too, and
Mhm.
we can talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? About
Mm-hmm.
how it went, what we found, what crazy things happened, I'm sure there'll be
Yep.
many.
Yeah,
So
probably.
yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, I have a story that I can tell. It's just a short story, and Tim told it to me recently, and it was from when he graduated high school and was going into the military. He had a friend that he was really close with, and the friend was going to college, so he wasn't going into the military. And Tim went to boot camp, and he got a call that his friend that was going to college, he died. And I'm like, what happened? And Tim said that they found him, and what they listed on the death certificate was he died from fright.
I've heard that before. I have heard that before.
I thought it was like you just like it's a saying like scared to death or whatever, but
Yes.
that's
Yes,
what
it
they
can
put on
happen.
his.
It can
Yeah,
happen.
that's what the coroner listed it as, dying
Yep.
from fright.
Yep.
And I said, well, what happened? Did they say? And he said, no, that it was just like the only things that they could account for why he died is wherever they found. And that's what they listed it as he just, he was shocked to the point where he died. And I went, oh my gosh, he was scared to death.
Yeah.
Literally.
I have heard of that before. A few times,
That
actually.
is crazy.
But you
That's
know,
crazy.
you hear of people dying of broken hearts too. I mean, seriously,
Yeah, I know. I've heard that too.
Well, experience, my mom and dad passed away in 2005 and they had been married for, oh my God, 60 some years, right? I mean, they were everything to each other. My mom passed quickly, suddenly had cancer, and my dad was gone within 3 months. And he, he just, what happened was he fell and he hurt his head and he just gave up, right? He wanted to be with Betty May, and I remember telling my doctor that because I was at the doctor for my annual or something. And he said, you seem really down. And so I told him, that I'd lost both my parents. And he said, your dad died of a broken heart. I said, he did. He did. Absolutely. Without question, So, all these things happen. They're no joke. I mean, it can happen to anyone,
Yeah. So I just wonder, like, what happened to him? Like, what scared him so bad? So that's what I want to know. So I might do a little, like, intuitive investigating and see if I can find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, was it like an event or like even a freak?
Home.
Like, what's that? He
was
at
at
home.
Mm-hmm. So
that
just like during the day, and they found him.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna have
Crazy.
to do a little intuitive digging, I think.
Hey, remember when we had that story about that doll? What's the name of that doll? And that investigator that was with her and he died, and they said he died of terror. He died.
Wasn't it Annabelle?
Yes. Yes.
She was on tour.
He was a paranormal investigator, and they said he was scared to death. And that was just like a year ago. So
we did an episode about that shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I was a little creeped out even using the picture of her, actually.
I know.
I know.
No, we don't like that.
Yeah.
Creepy crawlies, it's no.
Yeah. That one was really freaky to me. Yeah. And Heidi, you've got a collection of dolls that have spirits, and man, that's like the limit to my spookiness there. Yeah.
Like, it is. It's creepy. Oh, here's something creepy that happened today. I'll tell you guys this. I put it on Facebook, but I was in doing my makeup in the bathroom this morning, and I saw a spider, which spider is one of my power animals, right? And I see it's a decent sized spider, like the body was decent size, and then it has the big black legs, right? And it was up in the corner of the bathroom, and it's, just hanging out up there. And I looked at it, and for some reason, I'm like, I wonder if, I don't know, I feel like that might be good luck or something today. Like I was thinking this in my head. I'm like, oh, I saw a spider. I usually see spiders. I see them all the time. And I was like, that feels like it's a good luck sign for some reason, which I never think that ever, because I'm highly allergic to spider bites now since I almost died from one a long time ago. And as I'm doing makeup, I look up again, and he's like still at the ceiling, but now he's in line with me instead of over there. He's moved over. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, well, it's probably a good sign. Like, he knows I'm here. This is a spider, and he's like right here now. And I look down to put something in my little collector, where I put my makeup and stuff, my little thing. And I just start looking up, and I see this motion, and I feel and I hear whap right on my forehead. And I do this because instantly I'm like, oh my God, it's the spider. And I started doing this, and I see him fall off my head, land on the floor, and scurry away.
Oh my God.
Like karate chopped me in the head from he jumped off the wall, hit me square in the head, square in the forehead, and then hit the floor.
And you
and
heard
I'm
it.
like, you've got to be. I heard it. I felt it. I saw it. It was like the most awful thing. And then I had a
That's
fit. I had a raging fit. I was like screaming. And Tim comes running. He's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "A spider." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "No, you don't understand what just happened." So that was awful.
That reminds
So
me,
there's that.
about a year and a half ago, I was cutting up some tires with a utility knife, and I had just changed the blade, and I had a straight blade in it. And I got done cutting, and I looked down at my arm, and there was a huge spider on my wrist.
Eek.
And I freaked out, and I brushed it like that, and then I
Oh
looked at
no.
my hand, and I opened it up. I could see through part of it. I could see through part of it. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? And it was just that quick. I just went, oh, and I sliced myself, and I was
I
like, oh, and I
remember.
looked
I
down. That
remember.
spider was still on me. It was on my leg, and I was like, I have a knife in one hand, and I've got an opened up hand, and so I hopped, and he fell off, and I was like, oh, I ended up with 20 stitches in my
Oh my
I
hand.
gosh.
remember when that happened.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember when that
Oh
and
happened.
wow.
no damage,
Oh
and
my
no
God.
lasting damage. You can't hardly even find the scar on me. The
Yeah.
doctor did such a
Oh, that's
fantastic
good.
job. Because when I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, you dummy,
Oh, well,
you're heading for
Oops.
some like surgery
we
or
all do
something."
stuff like that, Yeah.
Eek.
Because I could see through it at one point,
Oh.
but yeah, and it was all that spider looked so big on my wrist, and just and I just instantly just it went like that, but I brushed my hand right across my knife, and I was like, oh, and yeah,
Eek.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
That's so
and
bad.
I could
So
he
bad.
had such a big body on him, I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my reason, not recent, but semi-recent spider story. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
Eek.
but I got
Ah,
so lucky though. So lucky,
yeah.
no damage, and it
No
healed
Yeah.
up.
kidding.
So you're
Never
good.
had
So
a
you're good.
infection. Yeah, yeah. So it must be all
Well,
my supplements and stuff.
it must be. It must be. They're good.
Mhm.
The one thing I wanted to talk about was, and I sent some pictures to Jason, but our team, Jerry had heard somewhere about investigators. Sim likes to do a lot of odd little things because we want to know, right? We want to know the truth. And somebody he heard of was doing investigations in cemeteries, but not normal investigations. I mean, they were like going to cemeteries and scrubbing headstones, gravestones, and then they would get all kinds of paranormal activity.
I've seen
So
that.
we
Hmm.
talked about it among the team and we said, hey, let's do this. And I'm like, okay. And I said, I think the perfect place to do this is at this old cemetery up on the top of the hill where a lot of my Langer ancestors are buried. My grandma and grandpa are there. The Langers are there. It's like wind blown out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's going to question what we're doing, you know? And so we did. And we went out there and we call it research, but we did get a lot of hits. So we focused on my family's graves, right? It was my grandpa and my grandma, and my dad's little brother who passed away when he was like 2 or 1 or something. And yeah, there we are with the big, massive Langer headstone. And then what we did was, I told stories about my grandpa, and um, there we all are at the Langer headstone. But we did get a lot of activity. And what was interesting is when we were at Frank's grave, my grandpa, I never knew my grandma because she passed away when I was very young, like less than 2. Unfortunately, it was one of those things where she had heart arrhythmia. If she would have been able to get a pacemaker, she would have lived, right? But she didn't. So she had died a long time before that. And Grandpa Frank died until he was 90 something. I don't even remember what the year was, or how old he was, but he was in his 90s and he was a jolly old guy by that time, right? And he used to love to walk into town and get a half pint of blackberry brandy, right? I mean, this is what he did. He lived at the nursing home, lived at the care home, walked to town every day, had a beer at the bar, and then would bring home a half pint of blackberry brandy. So
I have done.
we brought a half pint of blackberry brandy. And so we scrubbed their headstones, and then we talked to them, and I told stories, and was interesting. Oh, sorry, I totally just wrecked my camera. I told the story about, I named my dog Dewey because my dad, when he was growing up, had a big black dog named Dewey. And, they lived on a farm, and Dewey got into the chickens or something like that. I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but my grandpa shot him dead, right? Because, dogs just don't do that on farms, and my dad was heartbroken and traumatized. I mean, even when he passed away in his 80s, he was talking about Dewey. So this is why I named my Dewey Dewey. But so I was talking to Grandpa about this, and I said, Grandpa, I have a dog now named Dewey, and I named him after my dad's dog, Dewey. And I heard that you killed Dewey. Oh, the K2 meter was crazy. He didn't like to be remembered or reminded of that. It was so, there's something to it. Now, to be honest, bad me. I haven't been through my evidence to see if we got anything. We did have the spirit box going, but Annie was right in front of me with her. She had a K2, and I think she might have had a millimeter and some other things. And yeah, it was on and off. There's a lot of activity depending on what I was talking about, and, they did. And then we talked about different things. And so, there's something to it. And I mean, who often goes and washes a gravestone? I mean, you go up there, you brush it off, you might cut down the grass around it, but to scrub it, which is what I did. And then, of course, we toasted Grandpa with the blackberry brandy, and we all had a shot. And then we said, Grandpa, this one's for you. And then we poured the rest of it on his grave, and it was cool. It was a neat day, and we will do it again. We will, we have another cemetery in mind in that same area in Wisconsin. So, yeah, cool. Paranormal research at its finest. We'll have to see what happens, but yeah, it's different.
What did you use to actually clean them? Was it just water, or did you use any kind of solvent or something?
We put a little squeeze of Dawn dishwashing soap in the bucket of water, and then I rinsed it off with regular water, So yeah, they were sparkling clean, and we did my grandma and grandpa.
Well?
It did. And so we did grandma and grandpa and my dad's little brother, and then we went over to the other section by the Langer headstone where his parents that came from Austria were, and then goes way back, I mean, so we did theirs too. There were like 4 of them. So it was a cool day. It was really, that's what's so cool about, I think, about Sim, because we do odd things, we do different things that most teams don't do, but we'll do that again for sure. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So that was that. But yeah, so it's been busy times for us, and we've got a lot going on for sure. And wow, kind of makes my head spin sometimes. But here we are. So, yeah.
Are you still feeling effects from your fall?
Yes. Well, not so much. I still have a bruise right here. I mean, you can't really see it because I've got it covered up so much, but yeah, there's still a bruise, and there's still a little soft, owy spot that hurts.
I wonder if it's not going to go away fully.
I hope it does, because it hurts. I mean, like when I sleep, because I sleep there, and then it hurts, And I notice that I'm still very tired. The tiredness never seems to go away. But I don't seem to have the weird things like the dizziness and the forgetting spells and the not being able to comprehend things, and figure things out. So that's good. I mean, I guess I can deal with the fatigue, right? And it'll go away eventually. It's one of those part of the whole concussion thing, So eventually we'll be fine. I hope. Fingers crossed. But anyhow.
So I just have one other thing. I have one more thing that I'm going to say before we're done. Because we did an investigation the other night. It was last weekend. We were out at a business that had called us in because they had a lot of stuff happening. Things were getting thrown off the shelves. They had video on their security system. So we went out and we were getting the walkthrough of where things had been happening. And Keegan is at our house. He's my stepson. It's Tim's son, and he was at home because we lived together. And he called Tim on Tim's phone when we were doing our walkthrough and said he was freaking out because someone was walking around upstairs in our house, but nobody is there, no humans. And so we figured something got rustled up, while we were doing this investigation. Something maybe went to our house, or, we connected with it before we went somehow. We weren't, didn't mean to and weren't trying to. But he swore someone was up there. He thought it was us, but he knew that wasn't the way we walk. So he went up and just like, nobody's there. Nope. And he went right back downstairs, and he went up twice.
After he went back down.
He went back down. Oh, Tim said he went up twice. He went back down, then he went back up again just to double check and see.
He heard it a second time.
Yeah, because he heard it again. So anyway, it was. We thought it was pretty cool. Keegan did not think it was cool.
No,
but we thought it was. We're like, dang, we should be there too. Like, now we know. Maybe next time someone goes and the other person stays, and we see if anybody else comes to the house again.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of cool.
I mean, you could almost take it as, hey, we know where you live.
What's that?
You could almost take it like, hey, we know where you live.
I know, right? Like, you're there, now we're here. So haha, but we got a lot of good stuff at this place anyway. We still got a lot of good stuff, but yeah.
But do you think that would maybe be like almost like a sense of humor type of thing?
It could be, or it could be like, I know how to get to you, like you said, like we know where you live.
Did
So
you
just
have
watch
any
it.
activity when you got home there at home?
Nope, nothing when we got home. The location was very active. We got a lot of things that made a ton of sense to the owner that we couldn't have known, and most of the people that work there wouldn't have known the stuff that we got. So it's not like we could have been told anything, that we got. So it was really interesting.
That is cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, and right now the veil is very thin. Beltane is upon us. And what I think is interesting, another very personal story, but I was at my brother's house on Saturday because it was his birthday. And that is my mom and dad's house. That's where we grew up. And, his birthday is on Beltane. Well, it's a day after. And so many times we can be there celebrating with him, and my mom shows up. And here she was again, and I didn't see her this time. Casey, my daughter, said, Mom, look with your peripheral vision because Grandma's here. And I'm like, can you see her? And she said, yes. And I'm like, I didn't see her, but I could feel her. Then it was like she came behind me and gave me a giant hug, and I'm like, nice. Oh, Mom, and Casey said, if you just look, she was looking, they have like a buffet, and then in the back of the buffet, they have like a mirror, right? And she said, look in there, but look off to the side. Don't look straight in, because that's where she was seeing her. But what's interesting is, I see her often there, and I know a lot of times it is this time of year, right? It's around Chris's birthday. And I feel like she just pops in to say, one year she came and she was as clear as Casey standing next to me, and we've seen her in the window. And Chris says often he's the only one home, and he can be downstairs and he hears footsteps upstairs, and he knows it's my mom, and he said, and Dad is always out in the garage. Because my dad was always out in the garage, drinking with the guys, and complaining, and what they do out there, so they're still around, they're still looking out for us. I think they say, we're here. You guys are doing okay, So, yeah.
When I'm out at Cryptovania HQ over at Tommy's place there, that's actually the place that he grew up, and his dad was there for many decades. And I swear I catch glimpses of his dad. Yeah. And the place is it's an interesting place. We've shot a lot of like independent films there and stuff because it's got all kinds of neat visuals and stuff. And so, but you kind of go around a corner, you're like, was that just Clayton? And it is kind of interesting. And I had said something to Tommy before, and he's like, I've thought the same thing, but I just thought I was just being crazy. So yeah,
No,
yeah.
never
So
crazy.
even though we usually try to like stay away from the ghostly stuff, I guess we do have a little bit of
Yes.
a little bit of that. Yeah.
Goodness.
So
Well, I think it's time to wrap it up, you guys. This has been a really fun show, really fun paranormal. The chat room has been pretty quiet tonight, which is odd on the Paranormal Smorgasbord, but
yeah. I see a couple of regulars are not there tonight. I'm gonna have to see why.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of things going on, a lot of stuff happening. So it's all good. But anyway, thank you all for watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching later or you're listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. And for all of the troops out there who may be watching at some point, thank you for your service and please be safe.
Yes, and everybody, wherever you're tuned in, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate Cryptovania TV for hosting our show, and Trost, thank you for producing. It's always awesome, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Good night,
Thank you, and good night, everybody.